What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I just wanted to cover some quick but very important news that was released today regarding Modern Warfare 2, and this comes from a new financial release from Activision, and with this we're focusing on one section in particular. And with this they state Activision is looking forward to building on its current momentum in 2023 with plans for next year including the most robust Call of Duty live operations to date, the next full premium release in the blockbuster annual series, and even more engaging free-to-play experiences across platforms. Now, up until this point with Modern Warfare 2, the prevailing rumor is that this is going to be the first Call of Duty game that's going to have a 2-year cycle. There will be no new COD game next year. At least that's what all the rumors have been stating. However, with this statement from Activision, it kind of looks like they are planning a new Call of Duty game next year. They call it a next full premium release in the blockbuster annual series. So if we just take their words at face value there, it does appear we're seeing a new Call of Duty next year that isn't Modern Warfare 2. However, one of the most reliable industry insiders, Jason Schreier, is pushing back against this and is basically just saying that this is just PR language, and instead, what we're going to be seeing, according to him, is the next actual Call of Duty game will be released by Treyarch in 2024. That's what we've been expecting based on the rumors over the past several months. Whereas next year, there's going to be a Modern Warfare 2 premium or paid expansion that's being primarily handled by Sledgehammer, and it's supposed to have a lot of content, he says. And that's why they call it a full release, is because there is so much content. This isn't just like a map pack or anything. This is like a big full-on expansion pack to campaign as well as multiplayer, but it's still going to be contained within Modern Warfare 2. And seeing this from Jason Schreier and then going back and rereading what they said in their statement, they did keep things vague enough that this very well could be the case. It may end up just being a really big expansion for Modern Warfare 2. And it's also worth noting there was a rumor not too long ago that they are currently working on remastering all of the maps from the original Modern Warfare 2, as well as potentially even some other older Call of Duty games. And as part of this big expansion that we're getting next year, it's going to include a ton of the classic maps in the game. Again, this isn't just like a little map pack, but we'd be expecting like 15 to 20 brand new maps being added all at once, but you would have to pay for it. And when it comes to my thoughts and opinions on all of this, assuming it is true, I'm mainly just curious to see how they would handle an expansion, especially with keeping the player base together. On the campaign side, if they actually include a bunch of new missions and they push the story even further forward, I think that's great news instead of having to wait another like 3 or 6 years potentially for the next Infinity Ward Call of Duty game. We can actually see the story progress just next year, which would be really cool. As for multiplayer though, with this being a paid expansion pack, what is this going to do to the player base? Is this now going to split the player base between those that have the expansion pack and those that don't? So now you're going to be limiting the pool of players that you can potentially connect to? Or are they perhaps just going to make an entirely separate playlist for this? So anybody that has the expansion plays on a different playlist if they want to play on those old school maps, for instance. Also, if they're adding a ton of new guns with this expansion, which is somewhat expected as well, how is that going to be fair and balanced if people that own the expansion are playing against people that don't own the expansion, and those that have it have access to a bunch of guns that the other people don't have access to? That would no longer be a fair environment, and it would potentially be pay to win if any of those expansion guns ended up being better than the base guns. So that right there is probably my biggest concern when it comes to this. However, just another concern that I have here, mainly as a COD player, this is more of like a COD problem, and it would be a weird complaint for a lot of other FPS franchises out there, but I'd be curious to see if there'd also be any sort of like multiplayer overhaul, where maybe they take a list of a lot of the issues that have piled up over the course of the year, and when this big expansion comes, do a full-on overhaul on some of these areas. I mean, by the end of the life cycle of a Call of Duty, it's usually pretty easy to pinpoint what the main issues are. However, by the time you get to that point, the next Call of Duty's right around the corner, so there's no reason for them to really dive deep and fix those issues, and instead, it's best for them to just invest the resources into their next game. This time around though, if they are going with a 2-year Call of Duty, I'm curious to see if we end up seeing any major overhauls at the 1-year point. Because something like that would be really helpful to liven up the game and potentially give a decent second year for the game. Because if all of the same issues persist for multiple years and they don't end up diving deep and fixing them, that could make for a very slow second year of Call of Duty. I mean, even if we get a ridiculous amount of content with this expansion, new maps, new guns, new operators, things like that, the excitement and hype surrounding that, I feel, will only last so long. It's not going to have the same lasting power as a brand new game with brand new mechanics involved. And with that, that's pretty much it when it comes to the overall thoughts that are just floating around in my head as I'm seeing this news and these rumors pop up. At this point, none of this is officially confirmed. We're expecting something premium next year, and while it still technically may be an actual brand new Call of Duty game, it's kind of looking a lot like an expansion pack for the current Modern Warfare 2. And this is where I'm really curious to hear what you guys think in those comments down below. How would you feel about a big expansion pack next year that provides an expansion to not only the multiplayer side of thing with a bunch of new maps as well as guns and everything in the game, but also an expansion to the campaign? Is this something you'd like to see, or would you prefer if they just released a brand new Call of Duty game? And second, if they end up doing that, how would you like them to handle the player base? Should they be splitting the player base based on who has the expansion versus who doesn't have the expansion? Or should the player base always be sticking together when it comes to multiplayer? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.